Friends, we're starting day 3 of Mini Takes the States, and we've gone through now 3 C's of Mini. This is basically how it all starts. And yes, it's cool you buy a Mini because you can customize it and do things like this with all sorts of people. But I have absolutely found my favorite Mini of the entire thing so far. The 007 Bond on a Budget Mini. Sir, this is the coolest Mini here.
Thank you so much.
What is your name?
Phil Robinson.
Phil Robinson.
AKA 007.
I can see that.
It's a Bond thing.
Now, I would say with your accent, it's not really a very East U.S. accent. It's more very west.
Yes, I get a free car wash every time I come over.
So that's why you make the trip.
That's right.
What did you do to this thing? Look, check this out. 007, the gun logo here. You got the whole 007, like the barrel logo here. And then come over here, check this out, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And then my favorite part, Mr. Bond. Now, if that is not the way to start a day, I don't know what is. Hello, Mini people. There, we got one. Hey, oh, and she's actually quite attractive too. We like her. They're not quite as responsive as Lotus people, but we still love them nonetheless because they march to the beat of their own drum. That is definitely the whole Mini thing. Hello again. So we got 2 Mini people over here. Both attractive women. See, you should buy a Mini. Okay, anyway, here we are at Richmond International Raceway, and you can see all of the Minis lined up, and this gives you a really good vantage point of what this thing is. So these are all the people that have gone thus far, or you can actually register each day of the race. So let's say for the sake of discussion, we met this guy, the James Bond car is the Bond on a Budget. It's my favorite one thus far. He lives here in Richmond, so he's starting here today and then pressing on with us. So people are like hopping on the train and hopping off the train at different stops. There's multiple stops over 2 weeks. And a lot of these basically go from track to track. So here we are on a NASCAR track, 3rd in 3 days. I mean, this is the experience of, number one, to do this with like 900 of your closest friends is cool, but to do it on a racetrack every day is even better. So before we press on to Baltimore, let's talk a little bit about the track, Richmond International Raceway. So we've been to Atlanta and Charlotte thus far, and those are like NASCAR, like churches. This is also a NASCAR track, but it's different in 2 ways. Number one, it's a lot shorter. Like, do you remember our NASCAR mini-series we did at Martinsville International Raceway? It's actually also in Virginia. That's the shortest NASCAR track at about 1/4 of a mile. This is also short, not quite as short as that. This is 3/4 of a mile. But the second way it's different is that it's shaped like a D, not an oval. So if you look down this straight here, it's longer there than over here. Something I think we should experience when we drive our Mini on the track. Okay, we're going through the crowd here and we found a familiar face.
Hi.
Ed! The Mini Horse!
The Mini Rally Horse.
The Mini Rally Horse.
Rally Horse.
Did you just give yourself that name in one day? Because you were the Mini Horse yesterday. I have video proof.
Promotion.
Okay, so here we are doing our parade lap at Richmond International Raceway to start the day. And this is an interesting experience. Shorter track, it's more about turns, it's more about driving dynamics than it is about the speed at Atlanta or Charlotte or anything like that. So let's make our way up to the nation's capital and say goodbye to Richmond. Actually, this is our last NASCAR track. I don't think there's another track. So let's say goodbye to the infield tunnel. And I really got to get my own track. I like this getting up and taking a couple of laps. I'm a runner, and I love starting my day with a run. But maybe a run and then a couple laps on the track, or maybe a couple laps on the track and then a run. That would be the perfect way to start a day. Anyway, off to Baltimore. So Mike and I had to stop for gas, but that presented us with a bit of an opportunity to stop at the old Wawa. Now, this is not at all an advertisement for Wawa, but it's more a trip down memory lane. Now, you guys know that I am from New York, but way back in the day when I was young and foolish, I dated a Joycey girl, which means when we went down the Shaw, we would go to a lot of Wawas around there. It's kind of a regional chain like you guys have, like Circle K. But two things happened while I was here on this whole nostalgia trip. Number one, while we were getting gas, next to us was a stunning Grand National with T-tops. And, you know, when I was in high school down in the Shaw, there were plenty of those Grand Nationals. And number two, gas, $1.88 a gallon. Actually, I think that is cheaper than gas was when the Grand National was new. And it's definitely over $1 cheaper than gas in California today. And now for something completely different. If you have been following the show for a while, you know that way back in the day, in a galaxy far, far away, I was in the tech space. Started at Apple Computer, moved to a company called Prodigy Internet, probably dating myself there, and then ultimately ended up in the mobile application development space, which is why today I beat you over the head in every episode to download our fancy new mobile application from Apple iTunes or Google Play. Now, thankfully for you, I am not the one that did the application development. It was the fine folks at OpenPath Products. Now, I actually used to work with these guys way back in the day. And let's meet the boss over here. This is Johanna. She's the boss of the operation. I was in your neighborhood, so I decided to stop by.
Thank you.
How long have we known each other?
9 years.
9 years. So very specific. Not 10, didn't round up, nothing like that. 9 years. So I brought some friends here with me. Can we see where the app was developed? And
Please.
Give a bit of a tour?
Yes,
Thank you,
welcome.
my dear. Okay. So let's go over here. This is Kevin. So those of you that are active on the app today, you know we had a problem. What happened with the Instagram people? They changed the API on us, didn't they?
They did.
Okay, so Kevin's the guy that fixed all that. So now it's working perfectly. And now if they change it again, nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be good.
So this guy, he helped us, he helped you, but he can't help himself. So you know, Johanna looks after this guy for his wellness, but he's sitting on his ass doing nothing. But look what he's got here. He's got one of these very fancy standing desks. Luke, how often, Luke is the intern here, obviously you can see they just got him from junior high school. How many times has he stood that desk?
About once a month.
Once a month. Good to see you really working on that fitness. We'll come back and check on you. Now, if you know development, or most people that think of developers or programmers or coders, they think that like they sleep upside down, everything is very dark and Cubeville. Basically, they're bats. Well, apparently, there's no bat cave here. It's a very sunshiny place. There's beach umbrellas. There's Richard over there, and see, he's using his standing desk. So he's dealing with the whole wellness of the operation. Thank you, Richard. And then, check this out. So back when I was doing this development stuff, there were phones like this. Real phones. Effectively, all they did was make calls, and then something called J2ME and Brew came to the world, and that's how I made my money. And look at this. This is a model of industrial design. Yes, this is very cool, and this does a whole lot more, and basically you could launch missiles with this thing. But look, from a design perspective, this is still so much more modern than this. So much more, it's like, it's a piece of art, where this is just, it's a brick, it's blah. Anyway, along these lines, I want to show you kind of behind the scenes of how this all works. Actually, you should look at the blue wall here. You don't see nothing over here. There's nothing to see. I'm telling you, nothing to see. But we're going to see Milan, actually. Milan, normally we'd say nice things about Milan. But right now, we're very angry. Can you come here for a minute? We're very angry with Milan right now. What did you used to drive?
I used to drive a BMW M3.
An M3?
SMG.
Well, we didn't like that choice of transmissions. But now, tell the fine folks, what do you drive?
Unfortunately, I'm driving a Toyota Highlander.
Go back to work.
Sir.
A Highlander. This is what happens when you get married and have kids. Your life is ruined. You get rid of your cool car. Now, speaking of cool things, this is the wall o' phones, o' tablets, o' VR gear. So behind the scenes, like when you see an update for your app on your iPhone or your Android phone, it comes in almost like every day you get updates and you think it just automatically happens. Well, this is what happens behind the scenes. Developers like OpenPath have to have every single phone on the market. They even have to support older phones, so like big like AT&Ts of the world, if you are going to have an app there, it's got to work across the entire line, otherwise it can't be launched. So you have to have old school phones from when they were called Singular Network. And then, of course, you have to have all the accessories to be able to power all this stuff. Then this has kind of gotten a little bit easier since I've left the industry, in that it's now basically tablets. So it's effectively, what, 2, 3 major operating systems. Please, BlackBerry people, let's just end this thing and let's all go to Android. And then on the handset side, it's gotten a lot easier. Look at all of these phones up here, and yeah, you can see that this is the modern VR stuff over here. But now it all fits into like one neat, tidy package. This is just Samsung phones, so all the different Galaxy phones here. And then you've got LG, and then we've got just Android, but then it's broken out into older phones by carrier here. Now, you could imagine trying to update apps for all of these. It could be maddening and drive people to drink. Well, it turns out there is a way in which to solve problems here at OpenPath, and it's actually not drinking. Richard, can you come help me demonstrate? I'm going to give you a lightsaber.
Yes.
I have a lightsaber. This is Richard. This is the other boss of the operation here. And actually, he is the creative force behind the MotoManTV app. So if you like its design, how it works, Richard is the guy that came up with the whole thing here. So he's the man behind the app.
MotoMan app. I'm
Absolutely.
Your father.
Hey, well, he goes a little bit overboard with the Star Wars stuff. I just asked him to stand in, and now he wants to act. You're not getting a sand card on this deal. So the question happens, is it a bug or is it a feature? How do you actually resolve this?
Yeah, conflict resolution. Bug.
A feature. Speaking of features, now this is not the only reason why we work with these guys, because they have cool toys hanging around here, and they got developers that downgrade their cars. I mean, geez, you gotta, Milan, we gotta help them. It's unacceptable.
We'll work on it.
So there's another reason why we keep Johanna and Richard around. I think we should go see. Okay, so the tech stuff is indeed flash, but the real reason why Johanna, Richard, and I have been friends over the years is because they are proper car guys and gals. Exhibit A his and hers assortment of, I guess, pseudo Z cars. So over here is Richard's 350Z, and this is interesting for 2 reasons. Number 1, Richard is a proper car guy because this is a stick. And number 2, he's a proper tech guy because this 14-year-old car is outfitted with an Android Auto setup in the car, which will run the MotoManTV app natively. And then even cooler, Johanna has a G37, but not just any G37. Johanna Daly's a G37 with a manual transmission. But wait, there's more. At home, which is not here right now, Johanna also has a 56 Ford. So an interesting thing happens when you're a car geek and you build tech for a living. You generally go out of your way and over-engineer solutions for yourself. So Johanna and Richard, well, when they bought the building and outfitted it for their business, they went a couple of steps further to get power, but not just for the building. So to really understand reason 1, you have to understand an engineer, a developer, a programmer. They're very literal people. Nothing wrong with that. They just like to see an ROI when you put an 88 solar panel array on the roof of the building. And they do that here in the lobby of the building with this monitor. As soon as you walk in, you see all of this information, like they've saved 65.6 trees, or here's my favorite, a graph that shows this is energy created and this is consumption. Now granted, it's never gotten to a point of surplus, but you can see on weekends usage goes down, but energy created stays the same. And then there's other information like how much money have they saved? Well, total according to this is $20,000. Now, while this is cool, there's a cooler reason outside. And here's the second reason, to power their electric car. So Richard just got this Tesla, and you know, he didn't tell me he was buying it. Something tells me he was embarrassed to tell me that he was going to buy a car that doesn't have a manual transmission. But wait, there's more. So full disclosure here, that really wasn't their first electric car. This one was, but if I'm really gonna be pedantic here, this really isn't their personal car. See, Johanna bought this car a couple of years ago when they started getting business in developing apps for proximity or location. So think about testing either a phone or a car that's near like your local burrito place or like hamburger place, and it sends you a coupon to your phone automatically. So the developers here will actually go out in this instead of their personal car to test that out, as well as the apps that are actually on board in the car. So I wasn't kidding when I told you these people actually invented the mobile internet way back in the day. Now they're kind of reinventing that again. So I think we need to put this aside. I got to go find Richard and A, congratulate him on finally buying a new car after 14 years, and B, shame him for not getting a manual transmission. So a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I used to work in the technology world, much like these folks here. As a matter of fact, I worked with these folks here, and this was, we're not going to say how long ago, so we're just going to keep that quiet. But that was when I was in the UK, and my soul food there was Nandos. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, Nandos has opened up in the US, thankfully, but sadly only in the DC area, and I think like 1 or 2 in Chicago. So think of this as like an open letter to the folks who run Nandos. I don't care if it's UK or US, please come to the California Republic. We need you there. So let's press on. This is Johanna here, and she decided to get the quarter chicken dark meat, but why this?
Macho peas, nice and spicy.
But they're mushy peas. Now, granted, that's a very British thing, but they're
Need
it's
some
green
green in your
food.
diet.
Yeah, but that's what the salad is for. You know, I actually saw a mini this morning in that color. They didn't call it mushy pea, Nando chicken type food. So let's press on here. Mike, the cameraman, he decided to get the super duper hot half chicken here with the corn on the cob. And then another super hot here. Can I steal your fries, actually?
Please.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Chips.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so these, you gotta get the chips here, although I didn't get the chips. I did the quarter chicken white coleslaw, the mashed potatoes, they're the bomb. And then, have you met Richard? Richard, what kind of car did you drive here in?
Blue, open path blue Nissan Leaf.
Nissan Leaf. Nissan Leaf.
Yeah, very
So let's
friendly.
see what Richard decided to have for lunch at the Food of the Gods from the UK, kale chicken salad. I'm almost embarrassed to be here with him. Joel, the manager, came over and almost threw us out because he ordered this. This is a test. If you ordered this, you are not a Nando's aficionado. So in that case, please go to the table and don't embarrass us any further. Thank you very much. This superhero theme must be continuing. I don't know what it is. Everybody probably joined us at Richmond. This one is one I've never seen. I'm a huge Batman fan, but Batman versus Superman, which I haven't seen yet, by the way, so don't tell me about it. Batman versus Zacky, who's a panda, you say? A panda hat. Okay, so Zacky is the super panda. There's the panda hat. There's Zacky the panda hat. You don't have the panda hat on.
Because I'm dying right now.
Well,
Panda needs to
if you're going to represent, even though it's a dude, I'm wearing a shirt and everything, I'm representing. Come here for a minute. I want to see the back of your shirt. Come here. You got to see the back of this shirt.
Oh, no,
Sir?
I think it's this shirt.
Okay, this encapsulates being your own man. Be a blank wolf. Be a blank lion.
Hang
Take
on.
no blank. Set goals.
I got a video.
Smash them.
I got
This is the man.
Hang on.
And then if you do this, you wake up one day and become Zacky. Come here, Zacky.
I'm Jason, but I'm representing.
Oh no, this is
sure.
team Zacky, right?
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
So when you smash goals, you end up with a panda hat on your head.
Sort of anyone that'll hear anything at all. I know.
So Mike and I are making our way from Richmond up to Baltimore now. And for those of you that know Virginia, you know you shouldn't speed. Have you ever been in a state where you see the signs that say speed may be patrolled by aircraft? Well, in Virginia, take the may out of it because we just got timed. They have markings on the road and we just got timed by a small aircraft. Basically, the officer is flying over the freeway kind of like this, zigzagging his way, checking speed on 95 here. So, yeah, don't speed in Virginia, even a little bit. Considering it's 2016, I would say that is incredibly timely. Anyway, let's put that aside and welcome to Baltimore, Maryland. So we just rolled in, we checked in with the group, and I got my latest pin here, so my collection is starting to grow. And we are hanging out again with 900 of my closest, newest mini friends at the B&O Railroad Museum. Now, some full disclosure here, I had no idea this place existed, and I am a huge fan of history. This, speaking of history, has a fantastic history unto itself. So B&O Railroad, yes, the B&O Railroad on the Monopoly set, but also Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. It was a railroad company that had a lot of firsts. It was the first transcontinental railroad. It was the first railroad to feature an air-conditioned passenger car. And lesser known, it was the first railroad to hire a PR agent. And when I say hire a PR agent, back in 1853. And his grand plan was to keep all of the old rail cars. Now that sounds great and all, but if you're a car guy, you know it's hard enough to store like 4 cars. Imagine trying to store railroad cars. Well, that was a bit of a problem in that where are you going to put these things in a city that is growing like Baltimore in the mid-1800s? Well, they happened to have a rail yard, and it was just over that way. And the interesting thing about that rail yard is you actually know of it today as Ravens Football Stadium. Well, B&O Railroad, as like airlines today, they merged with each other. So B&O merged with Chesapeake and Ohio. Chesapeake and Ohio merged with Chessie. Chessie merged with CSX or something like that. And when they got into, I want to say like the mid-1950s, the idea was, well, we've got a bit of a problem in where are we going to keep all these old rail cars, as nice as they are. Well, the idea was let's separate out the collection into its own museum, and that was in 53. Well, they just happened to have their very own roundhouse in Baltimore, and this used to be a passenger terminal. And just like take a look at the detail, like the beautiful wood ceiling there. Little aside here about the ceiling, you can look at it, it looks like it's fully restored, and it is, because I want to say about 10 years ago, there was a huge snowstorm which caved in half the roof, so they had to restore it. But look what they did, they kept it in its natural, or really its original architectural state. Huge kudos to the folks that did this here. Anyway, back to the history of the museum. So then, the museum now was unto its own self that museum of railroad history, and really the biggest in the world. But then it started to grow and further, and there were cars that were donated. So where are you going to put all these cars? Well, ultimately they found solutions to that stuff, like this one here, this 147 is historically important because it transported Lincoln. But then you got into 1999 and the collection got so big. I mean, look just behind me. You've got passenger cars from the 1800s, engines here, you got a caboose. I mean, this is a stunning place. So it's so unique in its own little vertical, it actually became part of the U.S. Smithsonian. And it was the first 7 museums away from the Smithsonian in D.C. to do so. Now fast forward to today, and it's its own museum where people that drive cars around the country hang out at night and have a barbecue. So with that, I'm going to turn this around to you guys, and let's talk about a transportation question that is not cars. So for a road trip, and you can't answer a car, what is your favorite mode of transportation? So it's kind of like planes, trains, and automobiles, whatever you're going to say there. And don't just tell me which one you like, tell me why. And for good measure, let me know what was your most recent, coolest adventure in a non-car road trip. Let me know in the comments below or via our social media at MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I want to leave you with 2 things. Now that you met the people behind the scenes that developed our app, you definitely need to download it. And number 2, here's our fun fact. Tomorrow, we're starting at Camden Yards, and we're going to drive to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have no idea what's going on there, but we'll have to figure it out. Until tomorrow, or whenever you see this, bis später. Oh, look, we got one of the smallest minifans right here. Are you excited? Where are you going to? Okay, we'll see you in Green Bay. We'll get you some cheese. We'll see you later, Joanna. Oh, look who's standing now. Apparently, Joanna had a word with Kevin over here. Is this the one day a month you're going to stand today?
Yes, it'll actually be.
Very kind of you. Yeah. This kid has got a bright future in front of him.
Go. But you didn't say take. You gotta say take. Excuse me. Take.